All right, guys, so we are going to read The Bully by Paul Langan today. Every Friday or Monday or Thursday, it's going to just depend on the letter days, really. But towards the end of each week, we are going to, for our bell work, we are going to read the first chapter of a different book, whether it be off of my classroom library shelves, the school library shelves. I may have some guest readers come in and work with us, but we are going to read the first chapter of different books and see if I can't get some of you um, hooked on books that you've never read before, because I told you one of my goals is to get you more interested in reading. So our first one is The Bully. I'm making this video in case you were absent or at a band lesson or whatever. You'll need to listen to the video and listen to the reading so that you can um, fill out your chart, your pink chart that's in your binder, because that will be part of your independent reading project grade at the end of the marking period. So you need to make sure that even if you were absent, you are taking care of these videos so you get the credit. So without further ado, I don't think we're going to read the entire first chapter because it's rather long, um, but we're going to read the first about 6 pages or so, and then we'll go from there. So this is The Bully by Paul Langan, and it is part of the Blueford High series, and there are other books within this series. So if you like it, I have a couple, but we can get some more if you like this series. Okay. Chapter 1. With a cold November wind stabbing through his jacket, Daryl Mercer took one last walk with his best friend, Malik Stone. Man, I can't believe you're moving to California tomorrow, Malik said. I just can't believe I won't see you no more. Daryl shook his head. He could not believe it either. In just a few hours, he would leave the only neighborhood he had ever known in his 15 years. Soon his street, his school, and every friend he ever had in the world would be thousands of miles away. Thinking about what was ahead of him, Daryl felt like a man going to his own hanging. Miss you, man, Daryl said, his voice wavering. The boys had known each other since first grade at Harrison School on 44th Street. Their neighborhood was definitely not one of Philadelphia's best. Most of the buildings were old and decaying, and graffiti covered just about every one. Some houses were vacant, and a few had broken windows. Abandoned cars rusted along many streets, and occasionally local newscasts would run a story about a city crime and feature this area as an example. To many people, the neighborhood was trouble, but to Daryl and his friends, it was home. I just thought, okay, true. Sorry, I lost my place for a second. True, there were guys selling drugs on street corners, but there were also good kids like Malik, Big Reggie, and Mark. Because of them, Daryl had never felt alone. Inside the rundown homes that lined Daryl's block, there were always people to turn to in times of trouble. Across the street was old Mr. Corbett, who sat on his porch each day and waved at everyone who passed by. And in the corner house was Mrs. Morton. She made sweet potato pie for everyone in the neighborhood, especially Daryl and his mother. This'll help you grow, Mrs. Morton would say whenever she left a pie at their apartment. Never seemed to work, but Daryl didn't mind because the pies were delicious. Daryl had always been short for his age. At 15 years old, he was just under 5 feet. He was also skinny, without a respectable muscle in his small body. Back in September, Daryl had dreaded starting Franklin High, but his friends were right there with him. If anyone picked on Daryl during those first few weeks of school, they had the other guys to deal with, too. But that was all changing. Daryl was moving to California 2 months after the school year had begun. It was the first day of high school all over again, only this time, Daryl did not have his friends to protect him. Daryl did not admit it to anyone, but he was scared. Want a cheesecake or cheesesteak? Malik asked when they came to sell steaks. I guess, Daryl said. Sal makes the best cheesesteaks in the neighborhood, maybe in the entire country. They were loaded with gobs of dripping cheese and just the right amount of fried onions. This one's on me, Malik said, a crack in his voice. Physically, Malik was the opposite of Daryl. He was 6 feet tall with big muscular shoulders. Although he was just a freshman, Malik thought he had already earned a position on the Franklin High varsity football team. Ever since they were young boys, Daryl was thankful that he was Malik's friend because nobody messed with Malik or his friends. Watching Malik return with the steaks, Daryl felt a wave of sadness sweep over him. "This is our last cheesesteak together," Malik said, handing one to Daryl. "Thanks, Malik," Daryl said. Normally he would devour the cheesesteak quickly, but now, for the first time he could remember, he felt as if he could not eat. His throat seemed to close up on him. "It isn't fair," he thought. "Why did things have to happen this way? Why did he have to leave his home and his best friends? And why, of all times, did it have to be in the middle of his first year of high school?" He knew why. His mother had explained it many times, but she could not change how he felt. Realizing he would hurt Malik's feelings if he did not accept his gift, Daryl forced the cheesesteak down his throat. He knew it would be the last meal he would ever have with his friend. The boys continued walking down the darkening street. Every storefront was painful for Daryl to see. He knew he would not be back in the old neighborhood again, at least not for a long time. He glanced across the street at the old grocery store. Today it looked warm and inviting, even though the owners charged too much for meats and the fruits and vegetables were not always fresh. At the corner, they passed the laundromat where his mother did her wash. A black mechanical rocking horse stood next to the door so parents could entertain their children while waiting for the laundry to dry. Once, Daryl and Malik gave coins to a little neighborhood kid so he could get a ride. "Remember when Rashid took 4 rides on our money?" Daryl asked. "Yeah," Malik said glumly. It was dark now. Mom had asked Daryl to be home early. The bus was leaving at 5:15 the next morning. Daryl looked down the street at the emerald green shards of shattered glass beer bottle glistening in the streetlight. "I guess I gotta go now," Maliki said heavily. "I gotta go home." Home. What a mockery that word was now, Daryl thought. Home was an empty apartment with boxes in the middle of the floor, packed for the move to California. Mrs. Morton was handling the shipping for them. "You've been a real brother to me," Daryl said. "I love you, man," Daryl blurted out, his voice melting into embarrassing sobs. Malik grabbed Daryl and gave him a bear hug. For a second, Daryl's face was jammed into Malik's shirt. Then the two separated and, without a word, started walking in opposite directions. After a few steps, Daryl began to run. "It's not fair," he yelled, and he sprinted through the dark. He felt as if he were being robbed, that things were being taken from him that he could never replace. Sure, Malik would miss him, Daryl thought, but Malik was big, and he had a ton of friends. Daryl was sure Malik would be fine without him. But Daryl was not so certain about his own future. The days ahead stretched out before him like a dark road filled with dangerous shadows. It would be like the summer Mom sent him to camp for inner city kids. The camp director promised Daryl and his mother that he would experience adventures in the outdoors away from the dangers of the city. What Daryl ended up experiencing was torment from a kid who wanted nothing more than to make anyone weaker than him feel as miserable as possible. And that's where we're going to stop for today. That's on the top of page 7 if you choose to take this book out. Like I said, it'll be in my classroom library. You are welcome to check it out. And we'll talk again next time. Bye, guys.